All right, welcome in everyone. We're diving deep today. We're going right to the heart of Marcus Aurelius's meditations. Just imagine for a second the private thoughts of an actual Roman emperor, like just jotted down in his own personal journal.
Yeah, it's incredible access, right? This wasn't some
Hmm.
big public speech or anything, just his raw thoughts. You get such a direct view into the mind of, well, someone incredibly powerful, but also someone struggling with, these like universal human questions we all have.
And that's precisely why it's so interesting for us, I think. So, in this deep dive, what we're going to do is try to pull out some practical wisdom from all these reflections, like insights that can actually help us in our own lives and maybe even help us, chill out a little bit, get a little inner peace.
Right. Who couldn't use a bit more of that?
Exactly. We'll be drawing on a bunch of different descriptions of the book and its impact throughout history. So, where should we start? What's like the core thing about Aurelius's thinking?
Well, he was really, really into self-reflection, like scrutinizing his own judgments and his impulses, like constantly double-checking himself. He thought that kind of self-correction was the foundation of, like, living a good life.
Always taking his own temperature, kind of
Yeah.
making adjustments. And that all ties back to Stoicism, right? That whole control what you can control idea.
Yeah, exactly. But Stoicism is actually more than just that.
Hmm.
It's like this whole philosophy where virtue is the only real good. And you get there through reason and self-control. Those are your paths to inner peace. Aurelius is always reminding himself and us that we can't control all those things happening outside of us, but our own thoughts, our reactions to things, those we can control. So don't get all worked up over the stuff you can't change. Focus on yourself.
So, like when something bad happens, life throws you a curveball, the Stoic thing isn't to dwell on the event itself, but to figure out how you're going to handle it.
Exactly. And that actually goes even deeper into like his whole idea of natural law. He believed that there's this rational order to the universe, and we have to understand our place in it. And by being rational ourselves, we could find peace. It makes you think, like how often do we do things that aren't really like the smartest move? How often are we not actually thinking things through?
Food for thought, for sure. He also spent a lot of time thinking about suffering, right? And all the uncertainty in life. Being emperor didn't make him immune to any of that.
Not at all, no. He writes a lot about the fact that hardship and pain are just part of the deal, and the unknown, too. But again, he always comes back to what we can control. We can't stop bad things from happening, but we can decide how we react to them, how we feel about them. That's where our power is.
And that acceptance goes all the way to the end, Thinking about death, which is something a lot of us don't like to do.
Right. Aurelius saw death as just like a natural part of life, not something to be scared of. It wasn't that he was like obsessed with death or anything. It was more about appreciating the present moment. If you're not always worried about what's going to happen in the future, even about dying, then you can actually just like live now.
It's kind of wild how these like ancient ideas are still so relevant today. Why do you think meditations has stayed with people for so long?
Because we're still basically dealing with the same stuff, right? I mean, we still have emotions, still have problems. We're still searching for meaning, for peace, for some kind of calm. Meditations is this really practical guide to building resilience, thinking clearly, and managing our emotions. Those are like timeless skills.
And it's like even more powerful because it's just his personal thoughts, written while he was literally running an empire.
Exactly. It's not just theory. He was living it.
Yeah. So to kind of sum up, I think our deep dive here shows us that meditations is like this guide to being more aware of ourselves. It teaches us how to use Stoic principles to deal with our emotions, to be okay with the fact that life's going to be hard sometimes, and ultimately to find some inner peace no matter what crazy stuff is happening around us.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, what we can control is, what's going on inside.
I like that. And on that note, here's something to think about. Think of one part of your life where maybe you're super focused on stuff that's totally outside your control, right? If you could ask Marcus Aurelius for advice, what do you think he'd tell you? Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.